Hi, this is Ed Koehler, and as promised, I'm coming back to you with another one of our remote teleworking solutions. This one is going to focus on facilitating home-based patient care and teleworking for medical staff. But I do want to emphasize that while we're going to focus on healthcare in the video series, these solutions can be used in any vertical, regardless of what it is, particularly state and local government, education, manufacture, so forth, so on. But obviously, it's pertinent to focus on healthcare right now. The need for hospital beds is strained in certain areas, and many are brought to capacity. To free up beds, hospitals are starting to send patients home, particularly those that are chronic but not critical and do not have COVID, and to get them basically into their home residence where they can be remotely monitored. And that way they're away from a potentially fatal pathogen because many of these folks would be in a situation that if they did contract COVID-19, it may be a fatal event. So we need to have IoT protection for the remote home residents. We need to enable hospitals to maintain HIPAA compliance as medical devices that are monitoring are extended out into the patient's homes. Secondary aspect is this need for secure teleworking solutions for medical staff. And this could be in a normal situation where it's just mobile, and many times the networking staff are not based in the hospital. They are now in some sort of temporary or pop-up facility or remote clinic. And secondarily, if valuable medical staff has to be quarantined for one reason or another, Extreme can offer those remote connectivity solutions so that even though they are in a quarantine state, they can still remain productive. To accomplish this, the considerations for cybersecurity are more important than ever. I've mentioned this in a previous video. As a matter of fact, it's the same slide, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. It's just, it is hard to believe that folks would stoop so low to leverage this crisis, but they are. And we should look at this as an opportunity to improve our security postures, particularly where remote access and teleworking is concerned. The solution we're going to talk about here really focuses around Extreme Cloud Appliance and an extension of that called Defender for IoT. The Extreme Cloud Appliance is a very good campus-based controller. We'll talk about that a little bit, but really what we're going to focus on is the Defender for IoT solution because it does focus on remote access. Now, the value of having IT managed devices at home is extremely strong, and Extreme Cloud Appliance can provide that for you. There is the ability to support secured IoT device connectivity, printers, scanners, cameras, so forth, so on, that are in essence part of the actual enterprise footprint. So this allows the compliance to be maintained, it allows security to be maintained, and it allows for very streamlined IT team troubleshooting because you're really dealing with an end-to-end infrastructure, even though the endpoint is at a remote site or a home residence. Now, how Defender for IoT secures medical devices is rather unique in the industry. We basically have the Defender application, which is resident on the Extreme Cloud Appliance, and then there are Defender adapters, and they're available in multiple forms, basically two that are illustrated here, a wireline adapter and a wireless adapter. These Defender adapters basically extend connectivity from the Extreme Cloud Appliance out to the remote residence and then secure the actual environment with not only an encrypted channel, but also a very strong rules base. And you can see a comment from a customer indicating that it's like having a firewall at every port, but a million times cheaper. And I want to emphasize that there are many major healthcare networks in the country right now that are using this solution to solve the very problems that we're talking about here in this video. Now, how profiles work, this is a big thing. When you're securing an IoT device, we have to realize that IoT devices are very constrained in the way they have their normal behaviors. In other words, there's not a lot that they do. An IoT device would typically do a limited set of communications, a limited set of processes, and those things would not change on a daily basis. And basically that lends to the ability to actually create profiles based on whitelists to say that these are the normalized functions of the device and it's really not allowed to do anything else. And then of course, as I've talked about many times, the policies, once they're created, can be reused, can be customized, so that we can actually start to extend the variety. And then also we have to realize that anytime we generate a profile off of a device and then we institute policies against that, we need to monitor the traffic, and we basically provide layer 2 through 7 visibility, because if a device starts to misbehave, and even though policy prevents it, it does indicate that there is an abnormality and it should be investigated as quickly as possible. Now, Defender does more than just secure devices. It provides the visibility, and it also provides a very comprehensive inventory. So many folks, if they are brought to the table and say, give me a comprehensive list of all of your IoT devices in your enterprise, they would be hard put to do so. And many times they are surprised what they find if they really do go out and do an audit. Inventory basically allows a centralized inventory of all active and inactive IoT devices that are deployed through the IoT Defender platform. And this includes location and roaming information for asset tracking. And again, think about, remote tents that are pop-up facilities, and then they're torn down and then re-extended out into another location, or home residences where particularly one patient is monitored, and then perhaps those same pieces of equipment may be taken out and recommandeered once the patient becomes well. Remote patient care for Defender for IoT. Again, two forms, the ability to do a wireless connectivity through the AP3912 or wireline dedicated connectivity through SA201. So you can see in the top example, there is an infusion pump and a patient telemetry system that could either be wireline or wireless. And then down below, we have a dedicated one-to-one connection to a telemetry system for the patient at home. Note how both of these tunnels are protected by IPsec. Again, the deployment options. There is a one-to-one wireline adapter that is for dedicated IoT type connectivity. And then there is a secure connectivity for multiple wired wireless devices, and that provides the ability for extension for not only IoT devices, but also usage for other purposes as well, such as remote teleworkers. And we'll talk about that, because really when we look at it, remote medical staff really has to have secure connectivity. If the IoT Defender is being used for remote patient connectivity, it only makes sense that you would use the same solution to extend out to remote medical staff. And that's exactly what some of our partners in this space are doing. They are deploying the technology out into their residence environments, or out into hotels, or out into shopping centers, wherever they need the connectivity. The IPsec tunnels are extended dynamically, and then the physician, the radiologist, the nurse, the practitioner in question can basically work very comfortably from the remote location. I want to emphasize that there is literally no setup and configuration that the remote teleworking staff has to be aware of. They really just have to have valid internet connectivity and the ability to basically plug in the AP and basically phone home to the IoT Defender application. We can also support, particularly in a home residence environment with a remote teleworker, and this is whether it's medical staff or not. You can actually have a Corp SSID with an AP located directly in the residence, and then have a secondary home router that you're using, and then have different SSIDs. So maybe your children or your wife or your husband will join the home SSID, and you as an employee of a given enterprise will be using the Corp SSID. This is a great example of where a healthcare worker can utilize their internet connectivity to their home residence, but keep due separation from their personal environment. So as a summary, this solution is secure. It extends the corporate-defined policies to the home. Secure IPsec tunnels basically protect that configuration. The Defender for IoT provides the extra layer of protection for the medical devices in question. And it provides the ability to give a remote footprint to the hospital and maintain HIPAA compliance. It's scalable and can be used for remote access only, for campus or remote access, and also it can be used by teleworking staff. It is not just for remote care patients. And also realize that this is a very eloquent solution that can be utilized outside of healthcare as well. It's incredibly resilient, so we can establish redundant links to appliances deployed in the hospital with primary and backups, and upon failure, we automatically switch up to the backup. So very resilient solution as well. Again, I would urge you to, if you are interested in this solution, reach out to your local Extreme team. They'll respond. They'll give you the specifics. You can also get details on Defender for IoT online at www.extremenetworks.com. Again, I want to emphasize, stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, stay productive. This is Ed Koehler with Extreme Networks. Thanks a lot for your time.